Hey there team, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my overview of Indica. I don't want to do this video, but I'm going to do it for the sake of honesty. Generally speaking, I like to be positive about games. I'll be fair in my criticism, but I'm not a negative channel. I'm not into dragging things down and tearing things down, but this has a fundamental, humongous problem that I honestly haven't encountered in any other game, though I have kind of quietly mused that we have been on a collision course with this sort of anti-game that is kind of presented here. And fundamentally, I think it's terrible. It's a terrible design philosophy, and this shit should be called out and stomped out immediately. A bit of preamble. I'm a huge 11-bit studio super fan, at least the stuff they do internally. This is, third party, them as a publisher. Though I think people are going to have a bit of a rude awakening with Frostpunk 2. I've been calling it for years that it won't be a direct sequel in the sense that you think it will be, because 11-bit internal does not do sequels. Not really. They like to jump between genres. I'm getting a bit off track, but Frostpunk 2 is going to be a political sim and less of a city builder, but I digress. We'll see how that goes when it comes out. Anyway, so my point is I really, really like them. And at the risk of blacklisting myself, I'm going to tell you that I really, really, really deeply in my bones hate this game. When I do overviews, it's usually just for the first 2 hours of a game to render a bit of a soft verdict, right? It's a refund window, get it out there. I only played the first hour of this before it made me want to throw my control. Having said that, where I got up to is where the demo starts. So I've kind of done the 2 hours already because I played the demo back in the day. And I suppose to its merit, this game is incredibly stylistic. In fact, that was all the marketing material. It was like, this is kind of kooky, wacky, Russian humor, which I'm familiar with. I get it. And it's all here. So the style parts, sure, it sticks the landing, and there are some innovative puzzle components. You have to sort of pray to switch between two different worlds, and there are some early on spatial reasoning puzzles, right? So it's not without its merit, I guess, but there is something wrong in its DNA, in its fundamentals, and it all starts with the solo dev dude. From what I understand in my sort of peripheral reading, because if Scarlett has such a reaction to something like this, I'm going to go digging. I'm going to go try and figure out what's going on. But it would seem that this is all sort of, essentially a personal story about the developer having a very negative experience with religion. Which is fine, that's fine. You can tell that story. It'd be cool to see a story that's positive about religion. I'm not a religious man at all, but church bad. We've seen this before. However, there's a difference between telling a story well and with nuance and doing what this dev's done, which is actually designing gameplay mechanics to illustrate the point and waste the player's time. I would say a cardinal sin not crossed before, but it gets close with walking sims, is don't waste a player's time, do not punish them for playing your game, do not make gameplay mechanics that are inherently malicious towards the player's experience, and that's what's happened here. Before I unpack that, like I said, we've been getting close with walking sims, and I've been banging my drum for forever. I love a good narrative in a video game, and the sort of handshake agreement I do is if you're just going to make it so it's a PowerPoint presentation where you just click through walls of text, or you just hold W and walk along a beach while some prick does a Dear Esther and tells you stories, it's like, if your story's 10 out of 10, it's probably going to get away with it. But there is still a greater argument that something like that shouldn't be on the Steam store. It's a different type of fiction. It's not really interactive fiction. It's closer to movies than it is to games. And this is Steam. Don't put it on Steam. But this takes it to the next step. So here's the scenario. And it's literally from the start of the game for the first 15 minutes. So way to make a terrible impression for those paying attention. You're this nun, and it's not super clear, but everyone hates you in the nunnery that you're at, or whatever the bloody hell it is, the church. So you're being given tedious tasks as punishment, but it also goes hand in hand with her inner monologue, which is to say there's sort of some technology here that she's sort of musing, why aren't we using the technology? Well, before we even get to that, you have to carry, without a sprint button, you have to walk all the way across from one end of the monastery to the other. It takes bloody 5 minutes. Pick up a tub of potatoes and carry it back, right? Then after that, you have to draw water from a well and carry it back and forth to the nun's bloody cookhouse or something like that. And you have to do it 5 times to fill up this barrel. And it is tedious and pointless and just crap gameplay. And all the while she's complaining in her mind, well, why are we doing this? If there's a pump house right next, like there's a pump just over there we could pump water from, And so, she, in a fairly juvenile, but it does seem to be Reddit edgy philosophical, the developers showing their hand, because I could counter-argue the reasons why you're doing this menial task, because it's not about the task, it's about the enrichment of the soul. This isn't necessarily even from a bloody religious perspective. This is about bettering oneself. Why would I exercise when I can just take a miracle pill that'll make the fat go away? Well, maybe it's about conditioning yourself to be a better person. But none of that nuance is discovered. She's just having a bit of an internal whinge about why she's carrying this bucket back and forth. And then when you finally finish it, and no shit, this is a 15-minute undertaking, and it's just absolutely mind-numbingly awful, the nun comes out and just pushes the barrel over to empty the water, and just wastes everything you did. Now look, let's be very clear. For these budding young internet philosophers that think they're super clever, but they're actually pretty entry level, I know exactly what is going on here. I know what the point is. They're trying to make commentary about the nature of the busy work that she's doing and how it doesn't amount to anything. Potentially trying to build up a feeling of resentment towards the nuns and take the side of Indica, right? I get all the frigging verbal diarrhea essays that could come out of what's happening here. But here's the point that infuriates me, is that you made me, a gamer, let's say on a meta level, I gave you money on a game that was pitched ambiguously and have given it a go, but you have clearly obfuscated parts of the game and kept mystery behind it, probably to bait people into such a low price point. And my reward is wasting 15 minutes of my time doing busy work, doing what I would call anti-game. Your gameplay loop, I'm using my hands, I like to use my hands, I'm very energetic, using them a lot now, is not designed for, I don't know, build belts in Factorio to move resources and give me my dopamine, right? I don't really give a shit about your issues with the church. What I care about is, this is my downtime. As a gamer, I want to play a game and I want to have fun. Now maybe I'll learn an interesting story along the way, but what is absolutely cardinally untrespassable is do not make a gameplay loop that punishes me to prove your point. It makes you look like an asshole. And so back and forth we go, we carry this water. You might think it's a little thing, that's fine, click off the video, you already have. Go buy this game and support it and nominate it for a BAFTA award. The rest of you that are actually gamers probably understand what I'm saying. You've sat down after a long day at work and you're going, okay, well maybe this is an interesting story about the church and this guy's experience with it. And then you proceed to have your time wasted playing a game. And this, I'm big in offering solutions to problems. This whole thing could have been done in a cutscene. You could have done it in 30 seconds, a minute. And they kind of do, to be honest. They lay it on very heavy. The nuns hate her for reasons not discussed. And anyway, I don't need to rant any more than that. My point is, if you're designing a gameplay loop, that the argument would be in service of enriching the story and proving a point, that's all good and well. But do not ever make me do busy work and then trivialize it and then think you're clever for doing it and tell me that this is some avant-garde story. It's not, because you could have done that more nuanced and you could have given me a fun gameplay loop. Now, this is not in isolation, because perhaps we could overlook it. There is an RPG mechanic littered throughout the game where you collect coins, right? Faith coins or whatever, and you level up. You choose grief or grief or repentance or, all these little things, and they'll give you score multipliers and all that. So there is a RPG system there. The game in its load screens starts popping up saying, do not collect the coins, do not engage with the RPG system, it means nothing. And I saw that twice, and I thought, on the back of everything that's going on, again, I'm showing you the path of a gamer through this, not some auteur bloody div rat that writes think pieces from the safety of their gaming cave. I gave it a Google, gave it a look up, and yeah, wouldn't you know it does nothing. The whole RPG system again, another cynical, sardonic, look at me, I'm so clever, I hate the church and I want you to be miserable too, perspective of a developer who implemented this collecting points. And again, I get what you're trying to do, but you've just done it terribly. He's trying to trivialize and minimize what the church does and how it's a waste of time. And the whole point of this game, from what I understand, is exactly that. It's supposed to be a waste of your time to illustrate what he perceives as the waste of time of religion. and how archaic and backwards it is. Now, I'm not even necessarily getting into the back and forth. My point is to illustrate I understand the point. You just shouldn't have done it by wasting my actual time. So yeah, there's gameplay loops in there designed to maliciously sap your time. There are RPG systems in there designed to be some sort of commentary on the story, but at the expense of you. And I can't help but think anyone that thinks that this game is worth their time, their money, or even the time I spent to make this video, you need more in your life. You need to check yourself. Get Factorio. Right, anyway, a bit more of an energetic video. I'll put it up, we'll see how it goes. Apologies that I'm not my normal chirpy self. 90% of the time I will be because, despite all the doom and gloom that's going on in the gaming space these days and politics and all that sort of crap, I still have a lot of faith in games and there's still a lot of bangers to cover. But, 1 in 10 is not a terrible hit rate. Alright team, might just leave it there for the time being and I'll catch you guys on the next one.